All right, guys, welcome back to another video. If you're new here or if you're returning and you haven't subscribed, you enjoy daily gaming content, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're going to start off here. We're going to talk about the game that everybody has been talking about since it was announced at the Game Awards, and that is Blade. We saw the trailer for it, the revealed trailer by Arcane, and I thought after watching it a bunch of times in 4K after the show itself, I actually think the aesthetic of it looks really, really cool. Very detailed with what they are going for, especially when they zoom in onto the hair and everything. It looks really cool. And I'm excited to see how all of that does translate into actual gameplay, how stylistic it will be, and how eye-popping it will be with colors and stuff like that. So we'll see what Arcane does. They're known for that type of art style, and with Dishonored and Deathloop and stuff, they have done a great job. So I don't think it'll be any different than with the upcoming Blade game. But other than that trailer, we hadn't seen anything else about it, and now we got some concept art that has been revealed by Arcane. You can see kind of what they're going for in terms of the city, the lighting, I guess the overall tone of it. Definitely looking like it's going to be a darker tone, but you can see it's taking place in Paris. You have Blade here standing on top of a building looking over the city. There's smoke coming up. You see the Eiffel Tower in the back, and obviously there is a ton of chaos. This is giving me vibes as you're going to be going through and just cleaning up the streets and making sure that the vampires and the enemies end up paying for all of the stuff that they have done. So this looks pretty cool, seeing just the overshot of the destruction that is in Paris right now that Blade's going to have to go and fix up. And then here is another screenshot. This is actually, I guess, people going into a bar or a club or something, doing something. You're lining up for some sort of thing. It looks like there's security guards out front and there's a large lineup. And then you have Blade looking around the corner, probably expecting something bad to happen or expecting an enemy that is going to be showing up there. And again, dark settings and just that atmosphere of the unknown that it's giving off in terms of vibes. And then here on the subway, you see the vampires in there and Blade on the outside of the subway fighting off bats, and just super cool here as to what is going on. From what they have said, it's going to be everybody has to be hiding and quarantining during the night, which obviously here you have people actually outside, and then during the day is when the city, I guess, does come more alive. And I mean, there will be humans and stuff just based off of the reveal trailer where you're going to be interacting with, as he does go into a barbershop and he's interacting with the person there. So cool stuff there from the concept art. I can't wait to see more about Blade coming up in the upcoming years. We don't know when this game is going to release. They say it's been in development for 2 years. So I would say at least another 2 years until we do get our hands on this game at the very soonest. But maybe 2026, 27 is going to be that release time frame where we're going to be able to play Blade. And it'll be one of the most anticipated games on the Xbox platform leading up to it. All right, let's talk here about some more Xbox console rumors. The Xbox Series X Elite, or the next Xbox, or the Xbox Series Pro. Who knows? But this is a thread and a rumor that is going around via Reset Era, and it is talking about the possible next generation Xbox console that has been hinted. And you can see there is a long thread here of stuff where they're talking about the digital Xbox and then the upcoming potentially Xbox Series. Jay Wood here does a good job of summing it up, saying, rumor AMD data miner Kepler indicates that the Xbox Next is coming sooner than we think, possibly 2026 or earlier. It's currently unknown if this refers to the next generation or a pro model type of console. The same person speculates that the all-digital Xbox Series X was canceled. So there's a lot to talk about here. First of all, we'll start at the bottom. The all-digital console was something that did show up in the FTC documents. And that is something we know that Xbox at least had a concept of. Now, was it ever built? Are they building it? We don't know, but they definitely have a concept of that Xbox. They have everything picked out, from the increased specs in terms of like Wi-Fi and power consumption. Nothing really from power, but just the differences that the Series X digital will have compared to the Series X physical. So that is something that Xbox has been thinking about, and we don't know how far along that isn't. I think a lot of people were expecting that all digital Series X to be announced in 2024. We've seen the PlayStation 5 already announce and release their PlayStation 5 Slim with the detachable disk drive. So Xbox is going to want something to kind of compete with them as well in that area, where trying to push more people over to digital and hopefully releasing a detachable disk drive as well, or at least leaving the Series X disc version as an option. But hopefully more people end up going fully into the digital ecosystem. I mean, that's what all of these companies want, because then you can control the consumer behavior by doing that. And there's a lot of negatives about that as a consumer, with games potentially ever just coming offline and you not being able to play them. There's a game that actually just went offline from Ubisoft of The Crew. It was only online, and that game is completely gone. So the whole digital only ecosystem can have some negative effects. But this here is saying that they're potentially going to be canceling it and then jumping right over to the next Xbox, whether that's the next gen or the Pro version of the console. We've heard all of the rumors about the PS5 Pro coming out, and those seem to be heating up, as there was rumors that Sony is expecting the specs for that to be released or to be leaked at some point soon. And I do believe that the PS5 Pro will be coming out. They want to be able to improve on what they currently have. They've made so many iterations of the PS5, and there's going to be a point where they want to just kind of refresh people's thoughts on the PlayStation and potentially go out and pick up a PS5 Pro now that the stock and the supply of the PS5 is just at the very top. I mean, they are sending as many PS5s as possible to stores. You can walk into any store right now and pick up a PlayStation 5. But if you remember at the beginning of this gen, you really had to be lucky to be able to get one of those. So Xbox may be looking at the PlayStation 5, and they may be saying we need to be able to have that power narrative still. We need to be able to be at least on par with the most powerful console going forward, which will potentially be the PlayStation 5 Pro. So maybe that's what they're thinking, and maybe they are going to actually be releasing a Pro version. A lot of people don't think it's going to happen. They don't think they need it. Comments from Phil Spencer says that they don't need it. And for my situation, I don't really care if they do or not. And I honestly don't think they've even come close to pulling out all of the capabilities of the current Series X. And we've had years of it being difficult to pick up one of these consoles. So Pro consoles at this point don't really make sense. But maybe in 2026, it's time to get that refresh while stock has really replenished, and a ton of people do have the ability to pick up a Series X at any point. They're dropping the prices, which generally means they're probably preparing to release something else in the near future. So 2026 or earlier, who knows if that's going to happen. They say they do want to release or have this console, I think, until about 27, 28. That's what the core documents had indicated. So if they do release something in 2026, I feel like it's going to be more along the lines of what they did with the Xbox One X, and it be just a Pro, more powerful console, as the current versions of the consoles would have been out now for, 5, 6 years, 7 years at that point. Whenever they released, they were released at the end of 2020. So the power in those are definitely going to be falling off. Even as of right now, they are way far behind when it comes to the powerful PC GPUs out there. So this is an interesting time, and these rumors will continue to ramp up as more information potentially does come out about an upcoming Xbox. But let me know, guys, if you would ever want an Xbox Series X Elite, or would you just want them to jump into the next generation with their next release of hardware? All right, and we'll stick with some Xbox stuff right here. The countdown sale for 2023 is now live, over 1,400 discounts, and you can get games on sale with some of the newer releases like Modern Warfare 3, Alan Wake 2, Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition. Those all have some sales on them, but there is literally everything on sale here. And my favorite part of these Xbox sales always is the backwards compatibility games that go on sale. Like, you look at all of these 360 games that are awesome. Asura's Wrath, 80% off, awesome game. The older Call of Duties where you can go in and play multiplayer now, 50% off. You have Contra, 75% off, and you can go down. I always like picking up some 360 backwards compatible games just to have them in my collection on the digital side. I actually have a lot of these games already in physical, but when I have them in digital, I just load them up on my Series S or my Series X, and they're so cheap. You get them for like $2-3. I'm absolutely okay with having multiple copies of these older games. So lots of great stuff here to go check out if you haven't. And I'm just seeing some more here, like Star Wars The Force Unleashed. I like that one. Split Second's a pretty good game, so you can check that out. Then you have the Xbox One games and tons of cheap games here as well. And then, like I said, you're going to get a ton of stuff here with newer games like Alan Wake 2 and Call of Duty. So make sure to go check out the Xbox Countdown sale. Always a good sale if you want to add stuff to your collection and just add to the backlog. I'm sure everybody still currently has, especially after the crazy year that 2023 has been. All right, let's talk about some Kojima. This isn't surprising, but Kojima Productions is working with A24 to adapt Death Stranding into a live action feature film. And again, not surprising because Kojima, I feel like his games are essentially perfect for movies. And some people will say they are just movies. Death Stranding, to me, I think is going to be better as a feature film. I'm not the biggest fan of the Death Stranding. I've talked about this previously on my channel, but I could see this actually making a pretty interesting film. As somebody who wasn't a fan of the game, I found the gameplay boring and stuff. I think that I will be interested in what Kojima is going to come up here with turning that into a film, because it is a wild, creepy, weird universe that he did create. There are some good actors in there, and we'll see how this all does turn out. I feel like we're going to see more adaptations from his game. Even OD, we don't know anything about that game, the one coming to Xbox, but he's working with filmmakers essentially to create that game. So I wouldn't be surprised if that one actually has a movie as well that they're already planning in the works after the game does release. All right, let's quickly talk about this. We know Xbox made that 10-year deal with NVIDIA GeForce Now to bring over Xbox games to the service, and they are rolling out more. Forza Horizon 4, Forza Horizon 5 are there, and Minecraft Dungeons. All of this is being rolled out into the service because of the 10-year deal between NVIDIA and Microsoft to get that Activision Blizzard acquisition passed. And they also already have PC Game Pass support on the service. So this is, I mean, a very smart move for both. It's a win-win for both NVIDIA and for Xbox, especially the PC Game Pass stuff, because this is going to incentivize people to knowing that they can go out and buy Xbox games, whether they want to buy them on Steam, whether they want to sign up to Game Pass to play them, and know that they can still use their NVIDIA GeForce Now account to actually stream them anywhere that they want. Xbox makes money off the sale of the game. NVIDIA makes money off of people being subscribed to their service. And it's just a win-win for everybody. And it's a very actually smart move here from Xbox to have made this deal that's kind of came out of the fact that PlayStation had pushed back against the deal and trying to get it blocked, and them showing that they weren't trying to monopolize the cloud gaming market. And of course, they're going to be adding Call of Duty and all that stuff to the service here. I think it's already in there. So no matter where you're picking up and playing your games, whether it's on Game Pass, whether it's on Xbox, Steam, whatever, you're going to be able to play these games via NVIDIA GeForce Now. Okay, let's talk about this now, Hogwarts Legacy, because Hogwarts Legacy was one of my favorite games of the year, one of the games I put the most time into. I really did enjoy it, and it was one that from the start, a lot of people were just trying to destroy it to make sure that it didn't do well. And that absolutely backfired, as it is one of the best-selling games, and something that very rare could happen for the first time in a while, where a non-Call of Duty or Rockstar is the best seller. This would be the first time in 3 years if Hogwarts Legacy is able to do this. We got some recent sales data via Circana and Matt Piscatella, and they say that as of right now, Modern Warfare 3 is the second best-selling game of the year, which is extremely impressive. That it's Call of Duty is always the first when it releases in November, but it's still like the best-selling game every single year. But as of right now, Hogwarts Legacy has surpassed 15 million sales and grossed over 1 billion, which would put it ahead of every game right now being the best-selling game in 2023, meaning that if this continues throughout December, it could be the best-selling game of the year. A game that a lot of people tried to destroy, a game that the Game Awards absolutely snubbed. It should have been nominated for at least one award. I'm not even saying Game of the Year, but I'm saying it should have been in one of the categories and replace some of the nominees that were in there. And it's crazy still how well it is doing. It will be tough because Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 probably still selling very well in December, and it may surpass it by the end of the month, but we'll wait and see if that's the case, or if Hogwarts can hold out and be on top for, again, the first time in 15 years that a Rockstar or a Call of Duty game won't be the best-selling game of the year. All right, and we're going to end off today's show with some massive news here coming out of PlayStation and out of Naughty Dog. And this has to do with the Last of Us online multiplayer game, Factions 2, whatever you would have ended up calling it. We got some big news here, and it is that it has officially been canceled. Now, we heard earlier that this game was on ice, whatever that meant, but this wasn't out of the mouth of Naughty Dog or out of Sony. And there were people out there saying essentially that it was canceled after this. I honestly was thinking that they need to get some big games as a service games out there. And The Last of Us, just because of the IP notoriety with fans, with tons of fans, and if people who are new to video games heard that The Last of Us was making an online multiplayer game, maybe it would appeal to a broader base of gamers. I thought that PlayStation was going to push through and make sure they did put something out, because I think they need some multiplayer. They need some games as a service, maybe not 12 or 10 or whatever, but they need some on the side to be able to continuously make money over a long-term basis so that they can fund their big, huge first-party budgets for their single-player games. And I thought Last of Us, strong IP, they definitely need this one to come out so that they can start getting some multiplayer revenue coming in. And that looks like it isn't going to be the case. It being on ice meant that it is officially canceled. And here is the official announcement from Naughty Dog. They say, an update on The Last of Us Online. We realize many of you have been anticipating news around the project that we've been calling The Last of Us Online. There's no easy way to say this. We've made the incredibly difficult decision to stop development on that game. We know this news will be tough for many, especially our dedicated The Last of Us factions community who have been following our multiplayer ambitions ardently. We're equally crushed at the studio as we're looking forward to putting it in your hands. We wanted to share with you some background of how we came to this decision. The multiplayer team has been in pre-production with this game since we were working on The Last of Us Part 2, crafting an experience we felt was unique and had tremendous potential. As the multiplayer team iterated on their concept for The Last of Us Online during this time, their visions crystallized. The gameplay got more refined and satisfying, and we were enthusiastic about the direction in which we were headed. In ramping up to full production, the massive scope of our ambition became clear. To release and support The Last of Us Online, we'd have to put all our studio resources behind supporting post-launch content for years to come, severely impacting development on future single-player games. So we had two paths in front of us: become a solely live service game studio, or continue to focus on single-player narrative games that have defined Naughty Dog's heritage. We are immensely proud of everyone at the studio that touched this project. The learnings and investments in technology from this game will carry on to how we develop our projects and will be invaluable in the direction we are headed as a studio. We have more than one ambitious, brand new single player game that we're working on here at Naughty Dog, and we cannot wait to share more about what comes next when we're ready. Until then, we're incredibly thankful to our community for your support throughout the years. So there it is. The major reason they are canceling this game, so they say, is because they believed if they were to actually put this game out, they would not be able to work on any other game going forward. All of their resources from Naughty Dog would have to be put towards this Last of Us Online game, which is kind of a crazy thing to think. You look at Naughty Dog, and for a long time, Naughty Dog is that crown jewel at PlayStation that puts out banger after banger, critically acclaimed, everyone's favorite studio. Well, maybe not everyone's, but a lot of people's favorite studio at PlayStation was Naughty Dog. Mine's Insomniac. That's why I don't say everyone, because just myself here, it's not my favorite. But people really loved Uncharted. People really loved The Last of Us, and they have some of the biggest IPs in gaming. Some of the IPs that pretty much everybody you ask them will know about, specifically with The Last of Us, with their TV show and everything, is just huge at this point. And instead of potentially going out there and expanding the studio out, hiring more people and bringing them in to work on the upkeep of this game going forward, where they then focus on some other single player IPs, they are deciding to cut everything off. And I think this tells us a lot as to what is going on here at PlayStation, because I think personally they need multiplayer and they need games as a service on the side to supplement the rising costs to create their major blockbuster third-person action narrative style of games, where it's going up into like the 200 millions or so. It's something that PlayStation sees increasing, and they're realizing that their margins are becoming slimmer and slimmer because their current strategy of console exclusivity is not the strategy that is going to be winning out in the end, which is why we're seeing them put their games out in more places to try to reach a broader audience and to bring in more revenue. Another way to do that would have been multiplayer and games as a service. And this is a great tweet that I always like to bring up because it shows the state of where PlayStation is. This is from Dom's Playing, saying, a misconception I'm seeing the light of layoffs and PlayStation making record profits is that sales are at record levels, but last annualized operating profit is the lowest since fiscal year 2019. Expenses are mounting, margins are slim. There's a reason for PlayStation Plus and PS5 digital price increases. So there you have it. This is back from November 2023, and I think this is playing a major role at Naughty Dog. They probably went and said, we need some more resources and funding because we want to be able to create the single player games. And the answer to that was probably, well, you got to choose one or the other. So they decide to cut off the games as a service and the multiplayer side of things. That's what I am guessing is going on there. I think for a lot of people, they're probably happy that they choose to go with the single player narrative games because that's what Naughty Dog is great at. If they were only going to be working on a games as a service multiplayer game for the next number of years or for 5-6 years or whatever it is, there would have been a lot of outrage, I think, about that from Naughty Dog fans who like their single player games, but that's not going to be the case, at least going forward. The other thing here that does make this, I think, pretty bad is that this is a game that Naughty Dog used, the online multiplayer side of it, used to sell The Last of Us Part 2. It was a part of, I think, people loved the first factions and they heard that online multiplayer is coming to The Last of Us Part 2 and it got them excited and probably said, hey, I can play through Last of Us Part 2 single player campaign, and then I'll be able to jump into multiplayer at a time soon after I finish the actual single player game, which gives you more bang for your buck. And I think it did probably help sell copies for people who would have been interested in that. And they just absolutely are not delivering on it. And all of the change up from when they did announce it, I think, has been pretty bad. And people may say they didn't promise anything or whatever, but this goes all the way back to 2018, E3 2018. They were specifically asked about multiplayer, about factions. And here is what they say. They say factions is coming back. They say, though a follow-up response from fellow co-director Kurt Marganu makes it sound like Newman may have been a little too specific. They say multiplayer is coming back. We're not going to talk details yet about what form that takes, but we can confirm there will be multiplayer. And then they say here, though I wasn't there in the room, I could just imagine the dude shut up vibes radiating for Marganu toward Newman as he said that. So this was before The Last of Us Part 2 release, and they said it is coming back. It is confirmed it's coming back. And now it never makes its way out, which I think is absolutely wrong for all of the people out there that they did promise this game to. It's been a terrible year for PlayStation, and people like to just ignore that it has been a terrible year, but 2023 has been very bad, and it is ending on a very bad note again here for December 15th. We'll see if anything else comes out before the end of the year. 2024 is going to have to be a redemption year for PlayStation and the PS5, in my opinion, and we still don't have a roadmap as to what games are coming out from their first parties. But I will end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I will catch you guys in the next video. We'll be right back.